Did you engage in any sexual behavior after the movie?
Yes.
And what behavior did you engage in?
That was like oral sex.
You mentioned previously that you saw this as somewhat of a romantic weekend with Travis. Was that what it was turning out to be?
No.
When you weren't engaged in sexual activity, how was he treating you?
He wasn't treating me bad. He just seemed checked out. You know, the whole time we were checked in, he was just kind of distant.
That was Jodi Arias earlier today. We're waiting for live testimony to resume inside the courtroom. There's a live shot from that courtroom, the Great Seal of the State of Arizona. And what I just heard there was very typical of the testimony from Jodi Arias. Let me bring back in Jason Lamm, great criminal defense attorney who's outside the courthouse. Jason, what I'm hearing, he checked out after our, sex. That, to me, it just sounds like a very common complaint. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, we want different things. And she even conceded there that he didn't treat me bad, it's just she wanted something more from him. I mean, is the jury going to perceive this in any manner as outrageous or abusive, controlling sexual deviancy?
Well, Vinnie, the testimony that we just heard, that occurred early in the relationship. I think it's in the later stages of the evolution of their relationship. For example, later this morning, she testified that, well, he was very amorous with her. Obviously, we know that they were intimate in all sorts of graphic ways. Yet, when his friends were around, he kind of gave her the cold shoulder. So he was sort of, playing her, if you would, misleading her, the hot and cold. And that basically, led to the confusion. But I think we're going to hear a lot more.
Okay, well, let's stop on that. Because that's at the heart of this case, is the relationship between these two, because the defense is self-defense, abuse, sexual deviancy. He attacked me. He has this horrible temper. He's the worst person in the world, Travis Alexander. That's the defense. So he's not interested in pursuing this. You're from Maricopa County. You know the folks out there. You've tried cases in front of these jurors. Are they going to be outraged by a guy who meets a beautiful woman, who engages in sexual behavior, but doesn't want to marry her, but does want to continue that sexual relationship? Are they going to be like, oh my goodness, this is outrageous?
Well, I think we have a conservative jury pool here. Arizona is generally conservative. But I think the wild card that we sort of touched upon is the fact that he's Mormon, that he's a strict Mormon. And, she needs to give up coffee, but he doesn't want to give up anal sex. I mean, there's sort of some hypocrisy going on here. And I think, yes, his actions are going to be judged by the jury. And like I said, it only takes one juror to hang it up. But, in the meantime, the defense is going to go through this.
Can I cut you off right there for 1 second, Jason? Because I just want to keep this even. Hypocrisy, right? She's engaging in the behavior as well. She's also a Mormon at that time because she converts. There's a live picture, Jason.
Correct,
we see Jodi Arias inside the courtroom right now. She has taken her place, but we know the jury's not in there yet because she's seated at counsel table. She has to get onto the witness stand before they can bring the jury in because of a leg iron that she wears that the judge does not want anyone to see. So what we're going to do, Jason, we're going to take a quick break right here, folks, and I'm going to take a quick break because they're at a sidebar now. When we come back, Jodi Arias continues day 3 of testimony trying to save her life.
How did you feel in retrospect about the sexual behavior you engaged in with Mr. Alexander? Do you feel okay? Was it still too far, too soon?
It didn't feel like too much too soon anymore because over that month we had really gotten to know each other very well. I developed feelings for him, and it just seemed, it was confusing though, even though it wasn't, it was a little confusing. I hate to put it this way, but it felt a little bit used. But I knew I had gone there on my own willingly, so.
That was Jodi Arias this morning. There's live pictures from inside the courtroom. There's Jodi Arias' mom, who has been trashed by Jodi Arias on the stand. There's Travis Alexander's family listening to Travis Alexander being trashed by the defendant on the witness stand. Jason Lamm is with me outside the courthouse. Jason, this afternoon we expect that phone sex recording to be played. But here's the question I have for you. What does it tell us about Jodi Arias? The fact that she, number one, made the phone sex recording, number two, kept that phone sex recording, and now it's being used as part of her defense. I mean, is there an argument to be made about why she made it and kept it to begin with?
Well, absolutely, Vinny. You know, the prosecution is going to portray her as a calculated individual, just like she kept credit card receipts for part of her trip and she didn't for other parts of her trip. She wanted to have an ace in the hole. She wanted to have that leverage on Travis Alexander. And while we're certainly going to open up a can of worms as to his character, his sexual predilections, you know, that kind of cuts both ways. And I think it's a real slippery slope.
So let me ask you this, Jason. So you think they may argue that she kept this phone sex recording and made it just in case she got jammed up? I would almost argue, or I know exactly what I would argue if I was prosecuting this case, that she kept that phone sex recording and made it because she was obsessed with Travis Alexander. She loved Travis Alexander. She wanted to be with Travis Alexander, and she would use that recording, you know, for whatever purposes, but would keep it, not because of the killing or a potential defense, but because of her obsession and her fatal attraction to this man. How about that?
Well, you know, counsel, I do like your closing argument, but I got to tell you something. I would hammer it home with the calculated methodology, because I think there's a lot more to latch onto with evidence that she's going to have a much tougher time explaining. And of course, you know, Vinny, as you know, you want to loop your arguments. You want to loop your arguments to facts, and you want to repeat the theme. And I think that theme repeats itself over and over in the state's case, how Jodi planned it out from the gas cans to making stops with Ryan Burns and other things along the way that make this really seem premeditated, and that's the heart of the state's case.
Hey, Jason, she took her glasses off, but guess who's not in the courtroom? The jury.
Uh-oh, another sidebar. Here we go again.
Yeah, but there's no jury, and she takes her glasses off. I mean, it presents a different image. I mean, you guys, this stuff is calculated, right? It's not an accident that for the first time ever we're seeing her with her glasses.
You know, Vinny, maybe it's just as simple that she's taking, you know, her glasses off to give her eyes a break. Don't be so sinister and such a cynic. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal. I fully expect her persona to resume when she gets back up on the stand. We're going to see some waterworks this afternoon as she gets into the meat of her testimony. And when we did, you know, hear about
she's taking the stand right now.
She got a lot more choked up.
She's making the walk to the stand.
Let's see what happens.
Again, the jury's not in there because she has a leg iron that will prevent her from running anywhere. It's a safety precaution. Sheriff Joe Arpaio is making sure that it's secure. So now she's taken her spot on the witness stand, which means at this point is when they usually allow the jury to enter the room, and you will know when the jury's coming in when everybody stands up, because everyone needs to stand and pay their respects. By the way, Jason, as she takes the stand now, the glasses are, in fact, back on. So she took them off when the jury was not in the courtroom. Now the jury's getting ready to come back in. The glasses go back on. There's another issue, though, that is taking place in the courtroom, and I'll just mention it briefly because I think that's what the sidebar was about. There were some hearings that were in the judge's chambers, and the sheriff out there, Joe Arpaio, and his people believed that that was not a secure area for Jodi Arias to go to. So that was an issue that was brought up by the sheriff's department out there. So I think that's what they were dealing with. So right now we're just waiting for the jury to come back from lunch. But we expect this afternoon the phone sex recording to be played. Jason, with that recording, this is going to be the worst moment, I believe, for the prosecution in this case, because their victim's voice will be heard for the first time.